Welcome to Engage Your Tribe, a podcast about the art and science of audience engagement. I'm Jeremy Shere, and my guest is Jimmy Glenn, Assistant VP of Marketing at Kwik Mortgage. Jimmy, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited this is the first time I've ever been on a podcast.
Oh, well, this is a really big deal. One of the greatest moments in your life, I assume.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your background in marketing and about Kwik Mortgage.
Sure. So I've been in marketing myself for about 15 years. I've worked at multiple different organizations, everything from Fortune 500 companies to really small mom and pop, family-owned businesses. I've worked in a lot of different sectors, and the last 10 years or so, I've been in financial services, focusing on digital marketing, marketing automation, and kind of building marketing teams. So for organizations that previously didn't really have a marketing presence, like an in-house marketing team. So that's been sort of my last 10 years. The last 3 to 4 years I've been at Kwik Mortgage. We are a growing mortgage lender. We've been in business since 1998, but in the last 5 years, we have expanded to what's considered consumer direct. So that is where our customers literally research us along with a bunch of other lenders online on sites like Bankrate and Zillow, Realtor.com. And, as a company, we've, originated loans for over 10,000 families in America. We've done over $4 billion in, funded loans. So we're really a growing company. We were recently named one of Inc. 5000's fastest growing private companies in America. We were number 603, which was a huge deal for us. So that's sort of in a nutshell who we are.
Okay, very cool. Now, I believe that you were the first marketing lead brought in to Kwik, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So when I started, they didn't have a single marketing person. So I was here for a bit. And then we've now since grown the team to a team of 5.
Okay. So, but you were the first. And so when you came in, there was all kinds of opportunity to modernize and change up how things are going. And that's why they brought you, right?
Yeah.
So what did you see? What was marketing like when you first got there? And what kind of changes have you gone about making?
So both as a company and as an industry, marketing for mortgages has kind of evolved. Initially Kwik and a lot of lenders really relied on kind of relationship-based marketing. So they, worked with realtors, they worked with accountants, they worked with lawyers, and really a lot of their business came through those relationships. But like so many different things in the world right now, the market really shifted to a consumer that does the research online themselves. They, go on websites like Bankrate, they go on Zillow. And so you kind of started to see this rise in consumers just literally originating a loan without ever really talking to their, a financial advisor or sometimes even a realtor. That's the market itself is really under a colossal shift. And so a lot of lenders like us have kind of come about as well, where you're not seeing people getting loans from their bank or from a credit union. They'll go through a lender that sells the loan off. And so, but the kind of trade-off there is we're much slimmer, so we're able to offer better rates but also just better service. It's really, instead of being a bank that does, credit cards and car loans and everything, we really just focus on mortgages. The other opportunity is that it's all digital. That the leads come in through Bankrate or through Zillow or through Realtor.com or through our website. And so there was a huge opportunity to not really rely on cold calling and a lot more of automated text messages and automated emails. So we really kind of built all that driven through our CRM. And so it was a huge, huge shift for both our sales team and, our kind of fledgling and growing marketing team to sort of build this from the ground up, train the sales team to kind of be used to the fact that certain communications were going to be going out, from it's going to be automated. So you don't need to necessarily keep tabs the old way where you were just, calling people and some guys had spreadsheets, other guys had Word documents, they all track things differently. Now it's all through our CRM, and it's a lot more nimble.
Yeah. So, it sounds like this is the kind of seismic change in the industry that was just happening, whether you or anybody liked it or not, right? So you kind of had to get on board, but still people are used to doing things a certain way. What was it like for you as the marketing lead at the company to explain this to folks and kind of get internal buy-in that, hey, we really have to change the way that we're engaging our audience?
Yeah, it was interesting. The buy-in wasn't necessarily too it wasn't like I had to sell our CEO on it. He saw the opportunity. There were a lot of people internally who saw the shift coming. But the process of actually building a team that can build those automation things from you have to have the content, you have to have the integrations with different systems, because business comes from a bunch of different lead aggregators, like we built APIs between their systems and our CRM. So building that and kind of making the case for, yes, we need a developer, yes, we need a graphic designer, yes, we need, a full-time content writer. There was a lot of growing pains, and not growing pains, but it took some, having to explain to someone, well, what is a copywriter? Well, for us, we're going to be sending out different communications at different times. We're going to have somebody really devoted to our message design, to our, to making sure that the nuts and bolts of the marketing automation works. And then even, to your point, internal buy-in, some of the sales guys were skeptical. They were like, no, my process works, this works, that works. Having the shift from guys relying sort of on themselves to be a one-man show, to be sort of a combination of sales and marketing, letting them know that, like, no, marketing is handled. We're doing the customer communications. All you need to really do is sort of the application side of things on the top of the funnel, but everything else is, kind of on us. We own customer engagement experience.
Yeah. Okay. So what were some of the most important lessons that you've learned so far in overseeing this transformation of marketing?
Coming to a company that didn't really have a formal marketing department to begin with, some of it was really being able to justify ROI, being able to justify positions. But luckily, because it was so digital, there's no shortage of data. So we really relied on analytics and metrics and kind of made sure that I and my team was able to justify things. So the biggest lesson was really thinking about how to frame.
That's okay.
Thinking about how to frame our results, and thinking about how to in addition to marketing externally, we kind of had to market internally to sort of different departments and say, like, this is what the results of that were like. So that was definitely a big lesson. And I think just, being patient with sort of everybody and being a little bit of an internal educator. When a company doesn't necessarily have a formal marketing team to begin with, a lot of times you're also educating people, teaching people about marketing, teaching people about the sort of mindset that, that they might not have necessarily had. Before companies have strictly a marketing department, it kind of ends up being sort of a marketing by committee. So, or at least in my experience, I've worked at a few different places where I was one of the first, or if not the first, marketing person. So really, it's just being patient and being willing to educate and being willing to frame things in the right way that people will learn, what you're doing and understand the benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds really important. Because like you said before, it's sort of marketing by committee, or sort of everyone's kind of doing marketing.
Yeah.
And then you build a function. We're like, no, we're marketing. We kind of set the direction, but you're still relying on everybody else. I mean, everyone is still kind of involved in marketing in one way or the other, even if it's kind of at a distance, right? So I imagine if you don't really have that buy-in, it just makes everything a lot harder, and your marketing ends up suffering, in the long run.
The marketing suffers, and I think one of the other things that I probably should have mentioned, one of the things was like establishing brand guides and things like that that didn't exist before. So sometimes you also have to learn how to navigate, certain people. This used to be somebody else's job, and now you're owning it. So having to police a brand guide that didn't exist in the past and say, no, you can't continue to do this because we now have set brand guides. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. But yeah,
right. But like you were saying before, if you have that data. So if you're able to demonstrate like, this actually works, here's the proof, then that's a pretty strong argument for we're doing this for a good reason.
Yeah, typically. I mean, sometimes you'll have skeptics who think it's a fluke or whatever, but as you build more and more, you're able to kind of point to it and say, this is working, or this is, the other thing is this isn't working. Sometimes there's campaigns that we've always done in the past, but this works. Everybody does these postcards, and you're like, no, they don't work. The ROI is terrible. We shouldn't be doing that anymore. We need to focus more on digital, because just because everybody has a billboard and a postcard doesn't mean that we need a billboard and a postcard. So
yeah, and along the same lines, not all digital ideas or campaigns work, right? I mean, you try stuff, measure, and then you pivot.
Yeah, but I mean, even from a tracking standpoint, that's one of the things that I really, at least me, I am very much a kind of a numbers guy. So if I can't measure it, it's hard for me to justify it.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so a couple quick questions at the end here. What's your main focus in Q1?
So the marketing for us is really, the whole industry is switching. Rates are going up dramatically. During COVID, we had a really low rate environment, so it was refinances. Now we're going to be shifting to purchase market. So the whole market as a whole is going to contract a lot. So it's going to be more competitive for every lender. So the other thing is the purchase market. You run into first-time home buyers, but you also, you think of your typical person who's buying a home, they don't do it every day. It's not like you're buying a cup of coffee or you're buying, even, something on Amazon. You do that maybe every few years, if you're lucky, maybe every few decades. So a big thing is education content. That's going to be our huge push this kind of beginning of this year into pretty much the whole year, is really focusing on creating some good shareable educational content, videos, blogs, a lot of different content that we can try to teach people. Because for us, the best customer is an informed customer. There's a lot of competition out there, and it's very easy particularly in financial services, to kind of be a little deceptive, or just people rely on, I always go to this person, I always go to that person for mortgages. So the more people understand how efficient we are and how competitive our rates are and how good our service is, the better. So that's a big push for us.
Yeah. So what are the top 3 KPIs that your boss pays most attention to?
Well, definitely cost per lead. We're kind of constantly looking at our data to see how much we're spending on acquisition costs. Cost per loan, so that's the next available thing. What conversion rate are we getting? And then conversion rates for the leads that come in terms by channel. So we'll say, okay, who's the most efficient? We get X number of leads from our website. We get X number of leads through aggregators. We have referrals. We have different things. What's our best converting leads? Because that also helps us know where to market and where to expand and where to invest our time and energy. So
makes sense. And now you might have already answered this, but what do you and your team hope to accomplish this year? And when I said you might have answered it, you're just talking about building out content and educating customers. And anything more to add there, or any other kind of secondary things you guys have planned for the year?
Education content, and we're just growing. The company as a whole is really growing rapidly. So we are continuing to have a lot of as we grow, the sales team grows and the sort of the burden on the marketing team grows. So we're looking to kind of grow our team a little bit more. We're going to probably start having, right now, our team is so small that we have a lot of generalists who do, a little bit of everything. We have, some very specific roles, but, we're going to probably start to have more specialized roles on the team, and really focusing on content creation, education, and, creating good content that really people want to engage with.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys do a podcast.
Well, that's definitely been discussed. We talk about it all the time that, from an education standpoint, there's just so many different aspects of the mortgage industry and mortgages that people need to know. And to my point that I said earlier, really what makes us great is kind of somewhat in the minutia. And so the more educated people are, the more they understand the process, the better. So that is something that we've discussed, is definitely, I think that I'm a podcast nerd. I listen to tons of them. So it's definitely one of the things that I've kind of pitched a few times in terms of financial services as a whole. I think is a gap in a lot of people's knowledge base.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Jimmy, thanks for all that. Thanks for a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's it for this episode of Engage Your Tribe. You can subscribe anywhere you get podcasts, on any podcast app, and while you're at it, you might as well give the show 5 stars and leave an over-the-top comment about how much you love the podcast. You know you want to. If you're a marketer or an internal communicator and you're interested in podcasting, we've got tons of free resources on the website at tribknowledge.com. That's TRIB knowledge.com. Thanks for listening and staying engaged.